My parents got divorced when I was really young. I was about a year and a half old. And my mom and my brother and we moved back to where my mom grew up, which was multiple time zones away from where my dad was. And so I grew up without my dad in my life. And I grew up knowing that he wasn't really making an effort to be in my life, or at least from all I could tell. I would try calling him and he wouldn't return my calls. I'd reach out to him and he would never reach out to me. And it hurt. It was not a fun way to grow up, to feel like that one of my parents just didn't care about me. Now, as an adult, me and my dad, we've repaired that relationship. And I'm thankful to God that he's helped us to reconcile. But growing up, it was difficult. And it presented a lot of challenges, many of which grew out of this circumstance that I found myself in that I could do nothing about on my own. I didn't pick to grow up with divorced parents. It was just something that was thrust upon me. And maybe you have something in your life about your life that you cannot change, that has just been thrust upon you. Maybe it's an illness or a disease. Maybe it's a broken relationship like I had to struggle with. Maybe it's the loss of someone really close to you. Maybe it's a learning disability. There's a laundry list of things that we grow up in that can make things hard, things that about the life that we're living that we can't just fix on our own. What would happen if we put those pieces of brokenness into the hands of God and let Him define our circumstances? Let Him reveal to us exactly really where we are and why we're there. I think sometimes we let our brokenness and our difficult situations become barriers, or try to put them up as barriers between us and God and saying, well, if He loved me, why would He let this happen? In John chapter 9, verses 1 through 3, Jesus is traveling with His disciples, and it says, as He passed by, He saw a man blind from birth. And His disciples asked Him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he would be born blind? Who sinned? What's the reason for this? Obviously, it must be his own fault. We can live that kind of way too, where we think that, well, it's because of something I did. God must not like me. That's why this bad thing is happening, or why I have to deal with this unchangeable part of myself. But Jesus's response is so cool. Jesus answered, it was neither that this man sinned, nor his parents, but it was so that the works of God might be displayed in him. It wasn't some sin that caused this man to be born blind. And back then, they assumed if you're blind, if you're crippled, if you are deaf, then God must really not like you. It must be because you're a pretty awful person, or your parents were the worst, or maybe your grandparents. Either way, it's your own fault. That's how they would view it. And Jesus is completely contradicting that line of thinking and saying, no. The reason why this guy is blind is because the work of God is going to be displayed in him. God's power is going to be demonstrated through his life in this moment. Jesus eventually goes on to heal him and to heal his blindness in one of the grossest ways possible. Spits on the ground, makes some mud, rubs it on his eyes, and says, go wash up. It's like, oh, Jesus spit. Oh well. Even before the miracle of healing that Jesus is about to perform, Jesus has already started to change the meaning of this man's life. Before he goes on and heals him, he's still already saying, hey, this piece of brokenness that's in you, this awful thing that you're struggling with, it's not necessarily there because of a lack of God's love, because he doesn't care. In fact, God wants to work through our weaknesses, through our brokenness, to demonstrate his power to the rest of the world. Now, when there is sin, we're not talking about that. Sin is sin, and that is something that gets between us and God, and it's something that he hates, and he wants us to stop sinning. But don't equate some of the struggles you have in life just because of how you were born or what's happened to you in this life as a image, or as pointing you towards the idea that God doesn't care. He cares so much. Like, what if God didn't mess up by letting you be born into your difficult circumstance? What if it wasn't a mistake? What if he actually knows what he's doing and he's saying, hey, if you can just look to me, trust in me, I can even make something beautiful come out of that. I can even use that to build my kingdom. What if he knows what he's doing? I think he does. Don't doubt what the Lord can do. Let's stop doubting him and let's start trusting him. Let him define your circumstance. Let him tell you, hey, this is where I have you and this is why. And he may not always explain it perfectly to our liking. He may not give us all the information, but we can still trust him. No matter how things may seem on the outside, if Jesus Christ is your life, if he is your life, something that you may see as a weakness can be how God wants to work through you. Give it to him. Trust him. I can guarantee you it's worth it. It may not be easy, but it's worth it.